All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight here at The Volume. Happy Tuesday for the third time, everybody. Round 2 coverage of the NBA playoffs here at Hoops Tonight is brought to you by Chase Freedom Unlimited. How do you cash back? In case you guys missed it earlier today, I did a video breaking down Game 4 of Heat Knicks, and then earlier tonight, I did a video breaking down Game 5 of Celtics Sixers. You can find that a little bit further back on the feeds. We're just going to go about 5-10 minutes tonight on Game 5 Nuggets Suns. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to The Volume's YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss any show announcements. And last but not least, if for whatever reason you guys miss one of these videos and you can't get back over to YouTube to finish, don't forget you can find them wherever you get your podcasts under Hoops Tonight. All right, let's talk some basketball. So Nuggets beat the shit out of Phoenix tonight to take a 3-2 series lead. I want to talk about shot quality. This is a dynamic that I talk about a ton on this show, and there's a specific reason why I believe it matters so much. Obviously, shot result is the scoreboard, and, you know, if you lose a game, you can't just be like, oh, but we had better shot quality. Like Paul George famously, after Damian Lillard hits the step-back three to beat the Thunder, what was that, 2, 3, 4 years ago? God, I don't remember at this point. But he hits that step-back three, and Paul George goes into the presser and goes, hey, bad shot. Yeah, maybe, but he made it and you lost. So that's the end of story. Like I don't like focusing on shot quality too much, especially after the fact, because of the fact that the scoreboard is the scoreboard. That said, when you're planning or projecting or trying to predict, the best indicator of future performance in any basketball game or any playoff series is going to be shot quality. Why? Because on any one game sample size, there is a bunch of variance that takes place, especially with jump shooting, right? So like Phoenix, for instance, they take a ton of pull-up jump shots. That's the most difficult shot in the game of basketball, literally the most difficult shot. Pull-up jump shots from the mid-range, typically on a points per possession basis, are literally the most inefficient shot in the game of basketball. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't be taken. I think it's one of the most important shots, especially in the playoffs, to try to soften up defenses, because that's where a lot of defensive schemes give openings. That said, it is a very difficult shot. And what makes Phoenix unique as a team is that's literally their bread and butter. They're going to get a solid 40% of their offense in any given game out of pull-up jump shots, right? And so it just is a very difficult, it's a difficult thing to do repeatedly, especially against the same opponent, when in a playoff series you have to beat a team 4 times out of 7. We focus on shot quality for that specific reason. Even within one game, it's a great way to try to make adjustments or to not adjust, right? Like you're down by 10. The other team's making a bunch of crazy shots. As a coach, you might sit down and be like, hey, we're getting great shots. Don't get discouraged by what's happening on the scoreboard. There's 80 more possessions in this game. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's going to bear out. Or if your team is taking bad shots and it's a tie game, you might be like, hey, look, game's tied, but we're playing some bad basketball right now. Let's try to reverse that trend so that over the next 80 possessions, we can have more success. I picked Denver to win this series in 7 because of the specific dynamic of shot quality. I'm a huge believer in Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and what they can do. I believe they're both bona fide superstars, but this offense relies entirely on those two guys making extremely difficult pull-up jump shots and then eventually bringing in enough attention for them to spray out to their shooters on the back end. And it's just really difficult to do that 4 times out of 7. Meanwhile, we look at Nikola Jokic, right? He was 67% during the regular season on hook shots and floaters, which are basically his go-to creation moves. He's going to take the occasional jump shot. He's going to have the occasional free rim run here and there. But in terms of the lion's share of his offense, it's going to be a lot of shots in the short to mid-range that are hook shots, floaters, push shots, all those kinds of little shots in the lane. He shot 67% on those in the regular season, and he's only shooting about 56% on those during the playoffs. So he's actually due a little bit of positive regression. Or you can at least say that his 56% is going to travel. And you know what? He went on the road and his game traveled with him, which was a big part of why they were in those games. Phoenix has been blown off the floor in Denver twice now. Denver's been in the games in Phoenix both times, particularly in Game 4 as a one-possession game late. And it's because their offense translates on a game-by-game basis. Like Michael Porter Jr., for instance, finally got going tonight. He was one of the very best. I think he was close to the end of the year. He was the best. I'm not sure if he ended the year at the best. I'll have to look. But he was averaging like 1.3 points per spot at possession. Literally one of the best catch and shoot 3-point shooters in the league. Like, he got open looks tonight, and he's going to get a certain amount of open looks naturally in Denver's offense. It's more likely than not that they're going to go in on a game-by-game basis. Whereas when we zoom in on Phoenix, it's like game 1 and game 2, 41% effective field goal percentage on pull-up jump shots. Game 3 and game 4, 59% effective field goal percentage on pull-up jump shots. Then we head back to Denver in game 5, and guess what? Devin Booker regresses radically back to the mean. Kevin Durant, way less efficient than he was in the 2 games in Phoenix. Phoenix has not been able to get their shot quality dynamic to translate to the road, while Denver has. And I picked Denver in 7 because I didn't really have a great feel for this series, and I basically picked them because of home court advantage. But here's the thing. If Phoenix can't get their offense to travel on the road, it won't matter if they win every single game in Phoenix, because Denver does have home court advantage. And again, like, are you shocked that Denver's offense got going at home again tonight when Phoenix, their big adjustment in game 3 and game 4 was to go all in on offensive talent? Like, I'm watching this third quarter run there from Denver, and Phoenix is trying to fight to get it back down to 15, 14, 13 points going into the fourth quarter. And it's like Jacques Landale's on the floor. He's a below average defensive player. Campaign's on the floor. He's a below average defensive player. Terrence Ross is on the floor. He's a below average defensive player. Devin Booker's on the floor. He's a good to slightly above average defensive player. And Kevin Durant, who's a good to great defensive player, right? So, like, those defensive lineups are not the kind of lineups that are going to make Denver feel uncomfortable and make them struggle to score. Meanwhile, on the other end, they're because of the difficult shot dynamic, they're not hitting at the same rate that they did in Phoenix. As a result, Denver doesn't have to send as much defensive attention towards Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. It's a cascading effect. Like, think of it this way. KCP and Aaron Gordon, fueled by the home crowd, they applied just a little bit more pressure on those defensive possessions against Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. That flips their shot result a little bit. That allows everyone else to stay home a little bit more. Now, all of a sudden, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are a little bit in a predicament where they don't have the same easy reads that they had back in Phoenix, where it's just pop, pop, pop around the perimeter to a wide open 3-point shooter in the corner. So as a result, guys are in passing lanes. Now here come the turnovers, and look at Denver getting out in transition in this game. Last I checked, they were at like almost 30 fast break points in this game. So, like, that, it's crazy how that home road dynamic just adds that little bit of extra defensive pressure, which turns those extremely difficult jump shots into even more difficult jump shots, and it just cascades down the line as Phoenix's offense falls apart. And again, like, Devin Booker, everything he did in Phoenix was incredibly impressive. Not just incredibly impressive, unprecedented. I genuinely don't remember in my time following the league a shot-making performance like what Devin Booker did. Here's the reality. Kevin Durant had the best pull-up jump shooting season of his career this year, shot 55%. Basically the best pull-up jump shooting season I can ever remember anybody having in the regular season. Devin Booker was shooting like 70% on pull-up jump shots. It's just not possible to maintain that. It's just not. So the regression was inevitable. It happened. It trickled down the line. And again, like, they're going to head back to Phoenix, and they're going to have a good chance to reverse that dynamic again, fueled by their home crowd as they get a little bit more space on all these shots, and they start to knock them down again, and they start to draw those double teams. And again, Denver has a chance to win that game. They were really competitive in the 2 Phoenix games earlier in the series, but don't be surprised if Phoenix extends this to 7. But the bottom line is they've got to be able to go into Denver and generate high quality shots, and they just haven't been able to. Again, Nikola Jokic, like, I showed you guys a shot chart on my Twitter feed earlier in the series. When you look at Nikola Jokic's offensive approach, it is all stuff that can be replicated. All the players that rely on extremely difficult long-distance pull-up jump shots, there's a lot more variance in their game. Guys that live in the paint or near the paint, there's a lot less variance in their game. It translates night to night. Both of these teams are pretty terrible defensively. That's just a fact. But on the offensive end, Denver has a consistency that they can rely on that Phoenix cannot. Yeah, so great win for Denver, up 3-2. Still believe they win the series in 7, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Phoenix ends up getting Game 6 at home. All right, guys, that's all I have for tonight. We will be back tomorrow night after Game 5 of Lakers-Warriors.